October 22nd, 2025, Linköping, Sweden. Inside Saab's jet production facility, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson shook hands on what could become one of the largest fighter jet partnerships in Europe's modern history. The two leaders signed a letter of intent, not yet a contract, to supply Ukraine with up to 150 Swedish Gripen E fighter jets over the next decade or more. It's not about immediate deliveries, but about the future of Ukraine's air power. The meeting took place at Saab's headquarters in Linköping, the heart of Sweden's aerospace industry. The choice of location was symbolic. This is where the Gripen was born. According to Reuters and Euronews, the agreement outlines a long-term defense cooperation plan that could lead to the largest aircraft export deal in Sweden's history. Prime Minister Kristersson described it as a step toward building Ukraine's long-term air defense capacity. President Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine expects to eventually operate at least 100 Gripens, acknowledging that this will take years of coordination, financing, and training. To be clear, this is not a binding purchase contract. It's an initial framework that still requires negotiations on production schedules, financial terms, and pilot training programs. The letter of intent sets up a strategic partnership spanning 10 to 15 years, aimed at expanding Ukraine's air defense and strike capabilities. If fully realized, Ukraine could acquire up to 150 Gripen E jets, marking a significant shift from short-term Western donations to long-term industrial cooperation. Sweden's government has framed this as both an economic and security milestone, one that demonstrates European commitment to Ukraine's self-defense and future reconstruction. At this stage, no aircraft deliveries have occurred, and officials note that the first jets could arrive within 2 to 3 years, depending on production expansion at Saab and financing arrangements. Those projections are not confirmed, but they align with current defense industry timelines for large export programs. The JAS-39 Gripen is Sweden's homegrown multi-role fighter jet, developed by Saab to replace the Viggen and Draken fleets during the 1980s. It's designed for flexibility, able to take off from short or damaged runways and even from roads. This design philosophy fits Ukraine's operational reality, a dispersed airbase network that needs aircraft capable of quick relocation. The Gripen E variant, the model discussed in the agreement, features an advanced AESA radar electronic warfare systems and integration with modern NATO standard weaponry. It's known for low operating costs, modular maintenance, and high sortie rates, which could allow Ukraine to keep jets flying even under wartime pressure. These are established technical characteristics confirmed by Saab and independent defense analysts. Any assessment of how they would perform in Ukraine's environment remains an informed analysis, not a verified operational fact. From a geopolitical perspective, this deal marks Sweden's first major export move since it joined NATO in March 2024. Stockholm's membership deepened coordination between its defense industry and NATO supply chains, making such a deal with Ukraine both politically and logistically feasible. For Ukraine, this partnership extends beyond simply acquiring aircraft. It signifies a long-term shift, from relying on short-term military aid to building an autonomous, sustainable air defense ecosystem integrated with Western standards. Experts suggest this also strengthens Europe's defense posture by linking Ukraine's future air fleet with Nordic and NATO logistics networks. This interpretation reflects broader defense analyst commentary rather than an official position. Still, the road from intention to delivery is complex. Funding such a deal, potentially worth billions of dollars, will require international financial support and structured payment frameworks. Saab's production line would also need to scale up significantly. Training pilots and ground crews on the Gripen E will take time. Integrating the jets with Ukraine's existing systems and infrastructure, much of which still uses Soviet-era technology, poses another major challenge. Current reports from Euronews indicate that, if all goes smoothly, the earliest possible deliveries could begin within 2 to 3 years, though that remains a projection rather than a confirmed schedule. To understand why this aircraft matters, we need to look at its origins. In the 1970s, Sweden sought to replace its aging fighters with a more flexible, cost-efficient design. Saab engineers developed the JAS-39 Gripen, JAS standing for Jagd, Attack, Spaning, or Fighter, Attack, Reconnaissance. The prototype first flew in December 1988, marking a new era in Swedish aviation. The Gripen family evolved through multiple versions: the A-B models for Sweden, the C-D for export, and the E-F for the modern era. The aircraft's short runway capability, low maintenance needs, and multi-role design make it particularly well-suited to countries with limited base infrastructure. Ukraine's interest in the Gripen builds on that same philosophy: resilient, affordable, and versatile air power. Because Sweden is now a NATO member, this partnership could naturally align Ukraine more closely with NATO operations. Gripen E jets share communication and data link standards with other NATO aircraft, making joint exercises and shared maintenance more feasible. If realized, Ukrainian pilots could eventually train alongside Nordic air forces like those of Sweden, Finland, and Norway, gaining exposure to NATO-style air doctrine. This would not make Ukraine a NATO member, but it would reinforce interoperability across Europe's northern and eastern airspace. This scenario remains prospective. It depends on political will, funding, and successful contract completion. Alongside the Gripen project, Ukraine is already integrating F-16 Fighting Falcons supplied by NATO states, including Denmark, the Netherlands, and Norway. The United States approved training and sustainment programs for those aircraft in 2025, with pilot training underway across Europe. Comparing the two jets, both are formidable but serve slightly different purposes. The F-16 is older but widely fielded, meaning spare parts, weapons, and training are readily available. The Gripen E, meanwhile, offers more modern avionics and is optimized for low-cost, dispersed operations. In my analysis, and based on expert commentary from defense outlets like Air Force Technology and Janes, the F-16 will likely serve as Ukraine's near-term air power backbone, while the Gripen program, if finalized, would represent the country's long-term modernization strategy. Rather than competition, the two aircraft could complement each other, one addressing immediate needs, the other building for the future. Viewed together, Ukraine's acquisition of Western aircraft marks a major shift from short-term aid to structural modernization. The F-16 program provides immediate capability. The Gripen deal sets the stage for the next generation of Ukrainian air power. It also underscores Europe's evolving defense ecosystem. Sweden's NATO membership and its cooperation with Ukraine represent how smaller, technologically advanced nations can play a big role in maintaining regional stability. As with any such long-term plan, much depends on financing, production capacity, and political momentum. But if these elements align, Ukraine could field one of the most modern and flexible air fleets in Europe by the 2030s. What happened in Linköping wasn't the delivery of aircraft, it was the signing of intent and trust. It showed that Europe is planning beyond the current war toward a sustainable, interoperable defense structure. If the deal is finalized and production timelines hold, the first Gripens could reach Ukraine in the next few years. But for now, this is the start of a process, a vision of what Ukraine's skies might look like a decade from now. Whether those future formations are F-16, Gripens, or a mix of both, the underlying message is the same. Ukraine is laying the groundwork for independence in the air, and Sweden is stepping onto the global stage as one of its key partners. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown useful, consider subscribing and share your thoughts. Will the Gripen become Ukraine's air power backbone, or will the F-16 remain its workhorse for years to come?